All right, now we're getting to the fun part, which is actually using artificial lures to catch snook. Snook eat a lot of different kind of lures. I'm just going to show you the different kind of lures. I'm not going to tout any brand per se. I just want to show you the shapes and sizes of the effective snook baits. Different lures that are out there. Soft plastics, hard plastics, how to fish them. Yeah, just things like that. Now I have a lot of different brands in here, but I think I might have said it in another video. I get most of my lures out of the trees. I just replace the rusty hooks. I usually go with a single hook, and that's how I do it. So I have lots of different brands in here. I do have my favorites, but I don't want you to use my favorites necessarily, because you got to pick a brand, something you like, something you're really good at using, and that's what you're going to use. That's going to be your go-to lure. And what we're going to talk about today is topwater. There is nothing better, in my opinion, than a nice topwater hit from a snook. So let's go ahead and see what I'm talking about. All right, so this is very subjective. It says, what are the best baits? You know, people argue with me online all the time. Oh, that bait's horrible. This is the best bait, or this is the best bait. And the best bait is the best bait for you. If you're really good at walking the dog or something like that with your topwater plugs, you might have a Zara Spook or something like that, your favorite. If you're not very good at that, you might have some sort of a twitching bait or a lip bait, you know, anything like that. So it's very subjective, this. I'm just going to tell you the pros and cons of all of these different types. But what we're going to start with is topwater. We're also going to cover shallow water and then deeper water. And when I say deeper water, I mean 10-foot plus depth. Got to remember, I'm an inshore kayak fishing guide, so most of the water I fish in is 10 feet or less. So I just want to cover all these things and show you exactly what you need. And number one is you need the right size. So I'm going to go ahead and cover some different sizes here of the baits you're going to need, because again, you really don't need a full tackle box. You need just some go-to baits that are going to cover all the different water columns and things like that. Number two that we're going to cover is try some different colors. Your favorite's not working. You know, say you're using a white topwater and nothing's hitting it. Switch over to a darker one. I usually bring a light one, a dark one, and then something funky like a pink or a chartreuse. So have a few different colors. This is probably the number one problem that I see fishermen. When I take clients out and we're out on a charter, 9 out of 10 of them just fish the baits too fast. You got to slow down your retrieve. Super slow retrieve. You really got to remember that. If I'm in a current, I'm usually not retrieving it faster than the current, you know, very rarely anyways, you know, unless I'm going for mackerel or something that's a real fast, you know, that likes it fast. But snook don't like it fast, so it's a slow down your retrieve. It might want to eat your bait and it's like, I'm too lazy, I'm not going to go get that thing, it's moving too fast. Got to remember that. Snook are kind of lazy. Number 4. This is very important when you're fishing the mangroves. You got to know when to go weedless or you're going to lose all your awesome lures that you have. Got to know when to switch over. And you got to know how to switch over. Usually when I go weedless, you know, I'm going to have some sort of a twitch, you know, long twitch bait, you know, type of thing. They used to call them, you know, jerk baits, whatever they call them. You know, lots of different terms for them. But basically a long piece of plastic that I can bury a weedless worm hook in, just like a bass fisherman, and chunk right up in there in the mangroves and kind of let it sink and twitch it around. And number 5, our whole goal here is to simplify your tackle box. You need a few of each kind of lures that we're going to talk about. So you need something that covers the top water area. That's the top, say, 3 feet. You need something that's going to go, say, from 3 to 10. And then you need that deep one, just in case your plan A and your plan B don't work out and you got to move. So that's what we're going to cover right now. I'm just going to show you some of my baits and when you want to use those. All right. This is one of my go-to topwater baits. It's a Zara Spook. Again, found this in the mangroves. These are like $7 or $8 a piece. You know, it's rusty and nasty where the old hooks were. But I replace it with single hooks and I face them backwards. You know, I get a lot of grief about this sometimes, like, hey, you're supposed to have the front one forward. Well, not if you don't want to catch a bunch of weeds and stuff that are on top of the water. This is almost a weedless hook. These hooks are just going to move right with whatever they bump into on top of the water, and that's why I rig all of my top waters with both hooks facing backwards. And I usually increase the size of the hook a little bit too. So if normally you would have a 2-aught hook, you know, treble hook on there, that, you know, that size, I might go one a little bit bigger. You know, so I'm just going to move it up one size when I'm going to fish with single hook. The fish don't seem to mind if it's hanging down a little further, but this is one of those walk the dog type of scenarios where you go like this, and it goes like this, and then it goes like this, and again, it's a very slow retrieve. At the end, one of the bonus videos you're going to have is going to be a walk the dog video that I have out there on YouTube, but I'm going to put it on this, and just to give you an idea on how to fish. This is such a great technique. Top water, that first hour of the morning, that last hour before it gets dark, is probably one of my favorite ways to fish. It's usually the best time to fish, even though you can use top water walking the dog all day. If there's a bunch of mullet or bait fish around, you can walk the dog on the outside of that school all day long and catch fish, especially if it's cloudy. So it's a great technique. And this is Zara Spook. Again, not sponsored, but you see how it looks? It's basically a cigar shape. All this is another mullet imitator. It's a cigar. So all of your different baits, as long as they look like a cigar and they're the right size, and that's something I'm going to show you right now. So right down here below that, let's say that all of the finger mullet that you keep seeing in the schools are about that size. Well, that's close enough. You see that? So that's a good bait to be fishing alongside those finger mullet because it's roughly the same size. And size matters when it comes to these snook. So if it's too big or too small, when they're targeting something this size, they're a little reluctant most of the time to bite. So I'm going to give you another example on if the bait's this size, what not to use. Okay, so this is a great example on not matching the hatch. You would absolutely not want to use this bait. It's just too big for to match the hatch, to match the fish that are around there. So this is not doing it right. If you're out there looking for snook, you want to get as close to the size of whatever they're feeding on that there is. And this is obviously much bigger, so you would not want to use something this size. Here's a great bait right here, and check it out. It's basically the perfect size. So this is probably what I would pick to throw if I was in this school of mullet. This is about as close and as good as you're going to get to what you need. What is this? I got this out of the trees too, but it's a rattle bait. It's a top water twitch bait. You're going to be twitching this thing around. That's a perfect match to what we're trying to do. So you really want to get the right size when you're fishing these top water. All right, here's another thing I want you to keep in mind when you're picking your lures. Is you want some different colors as well. You want a few different sizes and you want a few different colors. So this one has a nice black top, a gold side, and a bright orange bottom. This is a very good color combination. This is something that you're going to want to have in your tackle box for a top water. It's something with some orange in it, just like this. This is another color combination that you're going to want to have in your tackle box. I mean, I'm showing you these Zara Spooks. I use them a lot. They're typically inexpensive, but again, I get them out of the trees and rehook them. But you're going to want to have a Chartreuse. So you want that orange color, you're going to want a Chartreuse one in there as well. And then lastly, what you're going to want is to make sure that you have something very natural. When you catch a bait in a cast net or see a bait, a mullet, a pilchard sardine, whatever it is, they all have a dark top and a light body. So when they're down deep and the predator's looking down on them, they blend into the bottom. And when they're up, on top of the water, they blend into the sky. So that's a perfect combination that you want to have. Prey items look like this. So you need some baits that look like this. This is great for when the water is very clear. I like to have a very realistic looking topwater plug or something white. Yeah, I have a white one right here. I'll show you. So I want either this color, it's a natural, or a white. Let me show you a white one. All right, here's another one. So this one is just basically white or a pearl. These colors are just great when the water's clear. So you want a natural or a white when the water's clear. When the water's a little more murky is when I like to have that chartreuse or that orange. You could even throw a pink in there if you want a pink. But that's it. So you just need maybe 4 or 5 colors of each one of your lures there. That's what you need. You pitch the one. If it's not working, you go ahead and pitch the next one. All right, here's another style of lure that I want to show you for top water. And this is your little twitch bait. This thing is going to run, you can either get a suspending where they run a couple feet below the water, but you notice it has a lip, okay? And these are just going to twitch, 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 twitch underneath the water. You just kind of jerk down on it and it's going to give you a ton of action. This is a great one too. For whatever reason, white with a red head works, even though I've never seen a fish that looks like that. But you want to have a couple of these in your arsenal. You know, maybe walking the dog, maybe it's too rough to walk the dog and you need to be a few inches underneath the water instead. Well, you got to have some of these. These are those minnow shaped, they all rattle, so they're making a lot of noise. These are just great baits to have when walking the dog is out of the question. So this is a good one. I want to show you this one. This is, I don't know who makes this. But anyways, very good color, very good shape. You just definitely want this in your tackle box. Here's another one, same thing. It's that minnow type shiny body. You see that? Nice little lip. It's going to give it a lot of action. It's going to twitch like a dying, hurt fish sideways. This is a great bait. This is a great bait. You can see I only have one treble hook on the back. Usually the back one catches them. I just put a bigger one back there and I jerk this thing through the schools because you know, those treble hooks really mess up the fish. So as soon as this one rusts out, this will have 2 single hooks on it. But another great lure. Great flashy, nice lure to fish right here. Nice lip. This is, I think it's called a crystal minnow. I think this is a Yozuri. Again, found it in the mangrove. So, you know, these are about $10. These are pretty expensive. But you want this style. I'm not saying get every one of these, but this is a nice natural. It's got the light bottom we talked about. It's got a dark top. You know, these are just great baits for snook. Here's one more example. This is, you know, it's got the chartreuse, nice and shiny, kind of a minnow shaped. Got its little lip there, so it's going to give you a lot of action. Another excellent type of lure to use for catching snook. So have a few lip lures, have a few lipless lures for walking the dog is my point. But you're only going to need, say, 4 or 5 of these topwater lures, different kinds. All right, so what we're going to show you right now is walking the dog and that technique on how to do it. I'm going to cast up current, and all I'm trying to achieve is to get this bait to do a zigzag pattern, just like this, in the water. So pay attention to my rod tip and pay attention to how I'm reeling at the same time. So here we go, oh, there we go. Nice little zigzag pattern, just like that. It's a little bit hard at first, but then after a while, it just comes naturally. But this is walking the dog. That's all you're doing. Great technique for first thing in the morning. And last thing in the day. Snook, redfish, tarpon, trout, everything. That's a very effective strategy. All right, here's another top water lure that you just gotta learn how to use. See how it's got a nice little lip there? You're just gonna twitch this bait and it's gonna jerk violently sideways. Again, a very slow retrieve, So pay attention again to my retrieve. And this one's going to have a little more tip action with your rod. You'll see. You cast up current again. Always up current. And the way you fish this one, well, the way I fish this one, you're going to learn how to fish it different ways yourself. You'll figure out what you like best. But it's twitch, twitch, slow, twitch, 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 slow, twitch, 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 twitch. That's all you're doing with this one. You can cover a lot of water using this technique too. And all that thing is doing under the water is just kind of darting sideways, and then it kind of floats back up, and then it dives back down, and it kind of floats back up again. Really looks like a bait fish that's having a lot of problems. So if you only learned one thing from these videos, the first thing that's most important is the right temperature zone. The next most important thing, in my opinion, is going to be slow down your retrieve when you're using artificial lures. You will catch so many more fish. That is the number one mistake I see everybody make. Barely twitching that thing, barely bringing it towards you. It should take you a long time. If you get a long cast, it might take you a minute or two to get that thing back to you. If it's not taking you that long, you're probably fishing it too fast. You have got to remember that when you are fishing with topwater for snook, tarpon like it's slow, redfish like it's slow, trout like it's slow. I'm telling you, slow it down. There are some that want it fast. Bluefish like it fast, mackerel like it fast, a jack likes it fast. But we don't want to catch those. That's something we're talking about. We're talking about snook. You want to catch snook, you want to catch redfish, you want to catch trout, you want to catch tarpon. Slow down your retrieve when you're using artificial lures. I think we've just about covered it for the topwater part. I want to simplify your tackle box. You need to have 5 topwater lures in there. I'm going to show you some what you're going to need for mid-range and what you're going to need for deep water lures too. We're going to simplify your tackle box. You can bring just one little bitty Plano or whoever makes these things full of your lures and you're done for the day. You have every scenario figured out. That's what I'm going to teach you here with these artificial lures. When to use them, which colors, all that. That's what we're doing right now.